Hey, good morning, my friends, and welcome to beautiful Surfside, California on this little bit of a gloomy Friday morning. But I got to tell you, there's a lot going on in sport fishing, and we intend to get you up to date on all of it. We'll go south the border down to Ensenada, where our friend Louis Prieto had some good yellowtail action. That's continuing. But is there anything to go along with it? We'll answer that question. Then we go to San Diego and see what the long range guys have been doing, as well as the bluefin tuna boys. They've been out conking them again last night. Did everybody get them? And how's the daytime bite going? And then we've had some exceptional yellowtail action out there at San Clemente Island. Some guys venturing out to Cortez and Tanner Bank, where they've found some good fish, and we continue to see copious amounts of white sea bass in several different areas. You know what time it is. It's time for the morning briefing. Good morning, my friends. Oh, after that sushi party last night at the Redondo Beach Rod and Gun Club, I really need this. Man, they kept me up way past my bedtime, but it was a lot of fun. My thanks to Chuck Zimmer from the Redondo Beach Rod and Gun Club for having us over there, and it was so great to see so many wonderful people at that event. Michael Limon was there. My friend Chad was there. Of course, Dan Lightfoot and Mackie and his wife. So many other people from the Rod and Gun Club. It was a fantastic evening. Thanks so much for joining us last night. Don't forget to hit that like button. We deeply appreciate that. Subscribe to the Friedman Adventures YouTube channel. And don't forget to tick that little bell. You'll be notified when there is new content. Share these videos with a friend, and don't forget you can follow us on Facebook, on Instagram, on TikTok, on Spotify, and Apple Podcasts 24/7. Boy, I got to tell you, that was a lot of fun last night, but they did keep me up past my bedtime. And of course, we were bumping up against the debate last night, vying for the most watched television show, and we missed it by that much. Yeah, right. Anyway, really a lot of fun last night, and hope you can make our next event at the Rod and Gun Club. We are going to plan a Paulina event here as soon as we get our schedules all straight. Paulina's going to come up, my co-host, when I'm down in Mexico in Ensenada. Paulina's going to come up, and we're going to have a meet and greet over there at the Redondo Beach Rod and Gun Club, and some snacks and just a lot of fun. I will guarantee you that. All right, let's get into it with you. We'll go south of the border, first of all, to It's For Reals Sport Fishing. And my friend Louis Prieto, who was out yesterday and found the yellowtail. Nice yellowtail fishing going on down there. You got to pay attention. You got to find the bird schools, because those game fish, namely the yellowtail, but there's also big bonita around. They push that bait to the surface. The birds get on it, and then they show you the way. You roll up on those things, you throw an iron, and bam, you get bit if you're lucky. And I wouldn't fish that with less than 40 pounds, because they're pretty nice yellowtail running around down there. Nice day for Louis and his anglers on board. It's For Real Sport Fishing out of Ensenada. He's a guy I highly recommend you go fishing with. Now, in addition to that, down there in Ensenada, there's still bluefin tuna to the south, to the north, and even straight out. They don't bite every single day, but there has been some exceptional catches down there, mostly on trolled Mad Mac lures. That's been the best way to get it done. But you can roll up on a breezer or a bird school of bluefin when you get offshore also. And then a popper or, a Daiwa Sakana 120-gram lure will do you really, really well. Those things work really well. Inconsistent bite down there on the bluefin tuna, but normally you can find plenty of big bonita, and there's a influx. We're starting to see more and more kelp patty yellowtail, which is a good thing. And the grade of that yellow down there's been nice. It's been, I want to say 10 to 20 pound fish for the most part. Sometimes you'll catch some of those dinks, but most of the time you're catching a good grade of yellowtail for kelp patty fish. So that adds to the variety. Now, if you stay inshore, you can find some really good calico and sand bass fishing. There's an occasional halibut and white sea bass and some barracuda flurries also. And then plenty of rockfish down there. So you can load up on the rockfish and make your dreams come true. Hey, on the Endeavor out of course, Ventura Sport Fishing, it's tough to get on that boat. Tucker McCombs is booked up year-round. And my dear friend Eddie Berrigan and his lovely daughter Bella, who is our model for Friedman Adventures merch, they have some trips coming up that you're going to want to become a part of. They have a September day-and-a-half trip and an October 2.5-day trip. The fall months in the Channel Islands is when you have your best weather and your best fishing. That should be bluefin tuna. It should be the big stuff. And if you'd like to get on board, Eddie's got a couple of spots on his charters, and the ambience on those charters is just like a Friedman Adventures trip. Everybody helping one another. Everybody becomes friends. By the time you leave that trip, not only will you have experience, the great customer service on board the Endeavor, and the great fishing, but you'll make a lot of new friends. You can call Eddie if you want to get on one of those two trips, 805-754-0920. All right, let's go to the long-range seat out of San Diego. Big yellows biting down below on those 8-day trips. It's been good. There's a nice mix of yellowfin tuna with it, some dorado also down there, and some big grouper. Danny Cadota is presently on board the American Angler, and Danny will be back in here for his Thursday show next Thursday when he will recap their trip on the American Angler for each and every one of you. That's going to be a great show, and we're going to hear it straight from the horse's mouth on how good it was. All right, let's talk bluefin tuna, and let's just make the general comment that last night, some guys got them, some guys missed. There's been some exceptional fishing, and you know, there's big grade stuff running around right now, mixed in with some smaller fish. The Pacific Voyager, old friend Mike Jewett used to run the big game 90 out of, was it the big game 80 or 90? It's one of those two. Mike Jewett used to run that boat. He's a great guy, and Mike was out on a recent trip on the Pacific Voyager, just getting back in. Limits of bluefin tuna. Mike's so happy to see you putting the wood to him. Mostly 50 to 70 pound fish. And their next day, they fished the Coronado Islands and caught some bass and yellowtail. So really, really good stuff going on there. On board the Legend, a couple of guys that I want to talk to you about. First of all, Chris Navarro. He goes over to Island Fishing Tackle in Carson, California, where, of course, we do Tackle Shop Confessions. And he buys his brother a whole bunch of tackle for his 60th birthday. Styles him out. Sends him out on the Legend. Guy's just getting into fishing again. And on his first drop on the Legend, Sean catches a 165-pound bluefin tuna. Sean, it doesn't get any better than that. Congratulations, my friend. Sean watches the morning briefing on a regular basis, and it's my turn to say both to Chris and Sean, thank you so much for your support. And nice going, $165. That is one nice BFT. On your first drop, man, I want to go to Vegas with you. No question about it. That is some good stuff. Polaris Supreme back in, 3-day trip, 111 on the bluefin tuna. So there's been some really, really great scores, and there's been some scores, you know, that missed last night. Tribute just getting going here this morning. 2 bluefin tuna at night last night, 12 fat yellowtail, and they just picked off another bluefin tuna. Nice start to their day. Aztec 2-day trip, 24 guys, 46 on the bluefin tuna. So that gives you a pretty good idea of what's going on. You know, if I had to tell you what gram jig to use, I would first of all tell you never know, because you can get wind and current, and maybe the fish get deeper than they have been. Most of that fish has been like in that 240 to 300 foot range. That's where you're finding those things. That 350 gram jig has been working really well. Daiwa SK jigs, the West Coast Jiggers HD lures have been working really, really well. So about 350. However, I would still bring with you that variety in terms of the jigs. I wouldn't fish anything less than 80-pound spectra. You're probably better off with 100-pound spectra, 200-pound bite leader, and then you're going to be in really, really good shape. If you're like Sean and you happen to hang a big fish, well, then you are going to be good. He had that 100-pound rig, and he was ready to rock and roll. So once again, really good stuff. I was remiss in mentioning to you, and you're going to ask me who cares, but down there on It's For Real Sport Fishing in Ensenada, there was a lot. It sounds like blue whales. He just said whales. Louis told me whales, but he said whales feeding on krill everywhere. Probably blue whales. They lunge feed on the krill, and the only reason I mentioned that is because again, those long fin critters, albacore. That krill is around because there's a cold water regime taking place, and that albacore loves that cold water. My prediction is we'll be catching albacore somewhere in Southern California before my mom's birthday on July the 10th. We'll see if that all pans out or not. But that's another good signal. Those Spanish jacks are another good signal. I'm telling you, white sea bass at Catalina Island for the first time in a while, starting to get some hits on that. I'll talk about that in a moment. All add up to albacore for us all, I think. And I know you're wondering what's in my coffee, but I've been singing this same story for a few years now, and I've been wrong every single year. So what the heck's another wrong year for me? Got to take a sip of this. Excuse me. Oh, thank God. I think I can make it through this. So once again, some pretty good fishing out of San Diego. Once in a while, you get on that straight great big fish like the Highliner did the other day. The Polaris Supreme had a lot of fish over 100 pounds. And then you get into like the some of the boats did last night on that 50 to 70 pound grade bluefin tuna. Really good stuff. Now, the boats that leave in the morning come back that very same day. We call those full day trips. Having a very difficult time getting the ball rolling this year. They've had occasional good hits on the bluefin tuna, but overall it's been tough, and it is remaining that way. San Diego had a Sea4 sport fishing with one bluefin tuna. The Liberty had a couple yellowtail and a bluefin tuna. Hopefully that light switch goes on for the boys here very, very soon. They are able to pick off those big bonita on a lot of those trips, and they are also able to find some kelp patty yellowtail. But overall, those trips have been tough and very, very difficult. So we'll continue to watch that for you very, very closely. Hopefully it's going to get better as we go along. The Fibbers Christian Fishing Club just arrived to Newport Beach, California on board the Thunderbird. And Dan Ross, Dan, you are the man out there fishing, doing your thing. Always good to hear from you. Dan said that bite on the big yellows, I think they had 34, 37 yellowtail, just outstanding on the heavy line. Dropper loop fishing at San Clemente Island. You know, not everybody's getting in on that thing, but there has been some exceptional scores. There's a lot of boats in there fishing that yellowtail with about an 8-ounce torpedo sinker, sometimes heavier than that. And I'd fish 60 pound with a big hook. Most of the time, the guys can make some live squid, and that has been the best way to do it. But Dan Ross back in from that trip just a few hours ago, and they had a really great trip at SCI. To summarize San Clemente Island, we are seeing some pretty darn good big yellowtail bites, at times really good, at times scratchy, and then you go from that to an afternoon calico bass bite, which has been really good at San Clemente Island on sardine, and also picking off some yellows on surface iron, a few yo-yo iron fish in the daytime, mostly fly line sardine or squid fish, and it seems like the greater fish goes down in the daytime. There's the exceptional big fish, so there's a lot of 10 to 20 pound yellowtail. Still really a nice size forky for you. So that's the situation there. I mentioned to you that Mike Jewett's trip out there out of San Diego fished the Coronado Islands and had some pretty good yellowtail action. Not wide open, but some yellows, but very good calico bass fishing there at the Coronado Islands. So that's good. We look at Catalina Island here, and, you know, the Victory just 2 days ago, 34 white sea bass. Yesterday, only one white sea bass, but that gives us hope that Cat is going to provide some good sea bass action. Just about everywhere we look, we're seeing a lot of white sea bass, but they have been reluctant to bite. They've really had lockjaw this year, and that continues. But there's some pretty good calico bass fishing for the Pursuit, the Victory, the Enterprise, several other boats that were over there. It's still pretty darn good calico bass fishing. I know the Blackfish, a yacht out of Davies Locker, Newport Beach, continues to pick a few sea bass to catch some yellowtail, mostly at Clemente, but they've fished Cat also for some sea bass, and they've had really good calico bass fishing. So pretty good calico bass fishing. Most of the time you're tossing a bait back into the kelp, and you got to get that fish out of the kelp with your Spectre. It's pretty easy. Well, not easy, but you can do it. Let's put it that way. And the bass fishing, pretty good. Now, overall, you know, I mean, you throw a bunch of people on a boat, you go to Catalina, it's just a few fish for rod. Some guys are falling back on the rockfish, but it's almost July. So guys are trying to focus most of their attention right now on, of course, surface type fish, calico bass and yellowtail, barracuda, a little bit of that around. Up there in the Channel Islands, man, I'll tell you, there is a lot of white sea bass up there, but they have been reluctant to bite. Hopefully it's going to turn on here very, very soon. We had the gray light with 3 white sea bass. The gentleman had 13 halibut up there in the Channel Islands. Some pretty good halibut scores from time to time. Most of the guys falling back on the shallow water rockfish, as that's what's been biting best of all. And they fished the deep water stuff also for some just big reds and beautiful lings up there. There's been barracuda scattered throughout this whole region. I'm talking about from the border down there in San Diego, actually below down there in Ensenada, all the way up to the Channel Islands. Less here around San Pedro and Long Beach. We just picked off a few legals here in this area, but you have to think that that thing's ready to go here one of these days, somewhere with some consistency and some numbers, because we've lacked that for sure on the barracuda. We have not had a consistent, steady, wide open barracuda bite. Everything, as I mentioned to you here recently, is late this year. It just seems to be very, very late. So we'll keep our eyes on it for you very, very closely. The Island Spirit out of Ventura Harbor Sport Fishing is going to be out on Saturday, and you're going to want to join them. They've had some great shallow water rock fishing going on board the Island Spirit. Customer service is so good. Get on the Island Spirit on Saturday. Then Sunday, of course, kids fish free. 12 and under with a paid adult goes for free. 805-676-3474. And don't forget, Eddie Berrigan has that day-and-a-half trip in September, and October, a 2.5-day trip on board the Endeavor. You can't get on that boat, and for good reason. It's one heck of an operation. Give Eddie a call at 805-754-0920 to get on the Endeavor on a multi-day trip that you will not forget. And you'll have a lot of fun with Eddie and Bella, whom I love so much. They're 2 really wonderful people. Father-daughter fishing team. Hard to beat those 2. All right, so up there in the Channel Islands, wouldn't surprise me to see somebody just knock the heck out of the white sea bass today. And then again, it wouldn't surprise me to see them just scratch at them and look at them. But one of these days, I've been saying this now for over a month, that place is going to explode and get consistent, and hopefully it'll be here very, very soon. All right, along the coast, New Seaforth down there out of San Diego had exceptional twilight fishing on calico bass last night. Really, really good. They've had some really good afternoon fishing. Their mornings have been picking at the bass also, and occasionally they get a big yellow or 2 or 3 or 4 and a sea bass or 2 or 3 or 4, but mostly it's been focused on that calico bass bite. Lighter line will always provide you with more action when you're fishing calico bass. That and choosing a really good hot bait. Talk to your crew members and see what's working best of all. That will make all the difference in the world to you. And fishing fluorocarbon, highly recommended. Promar Ahi GT4 fluorocarbon is the way to go. You can pick that up by going to promarahi.com, and don't forget to put in FA at checkout to knock 10% off your bill. And that goes for anything you buy on that website, whether it's lobster hoop nets or gaffs, netting, jigs, whatever. You get 10% off when you put in FA at checkout. And don't forget, you can really help us here at the Friedman Adventures YouTube channel by getting me some cough syrup, by purchasing some merch today. Why don't you buy a new, beautiful Friedman Adventures t-shirt or hat? It means the world to us when you do that. Help support the channel. And as always, I deeply appreciate all you do. By the way, Chad, my buddy, bought me something for the albacore this year to make it all come true. And I don't have it with me, so I'm going to delay showing that to you until tomorrow. But he gave me something that he guarantees will make the albacore bite this year. Chad, thank you so much for doing that, my friend. It was great to see you last night in the surf here. Or, I'm sorry, I was working on the half-day stuff, moving up the coast, picking up a few calico bass here and there along the coast, a few barracudas I mentioned, but really it's sheep's head, whitefish, shallow water rockfish. It's been the name of the game. Most of the guys that are getting the surface fish in San Pedro, Long Beach, Newport Beach are going to Catalina Island. That's where the better bass fishing has been. That's not to say that you can't catch some local bass. Private boaters have had much better luck, but it's been tough, and a lot of guys falling back on that shallow water rockfish. They've had some barracuda flurries up there on the Island Spirit at times, on the Californian, out of Ventura sport fishing. So hang on. I think that's going to happen one of these days. Again, just late this year. Everything is late. Going to be one heck of a fall here in SoCal. It's going to be crazy. In the Southern California surf, we continue to see more corvina showing up right now. Barb perch are starting to get out of the picture. They like the colder water, and the water's starting to warm up. There's still some barb perch down there on Dog Beach, Huntington Beach area. Down at the border, there's been a few stripers caught again. Also, more yellowfin croaker, spotfin croaker on the bait are also biting pretty darn well here in the surf. And we've seen a few halibut up and down the coast, especially up there in the Santa Monica Bay. There's been a few picked up in the El Segundo area here recently, and some nice fish along with some good yellowfin croaker. Don't forget to visit Big Fish Bait and Tackle in the beautiful city of Seal Beach, California, right down there on the corner of Seal Beach Boulevard and Pacific Coast Highway. You can get all the bait you'll need. You can get all the tackle you'll need. And not just tackle for the surf. We certainly have all of that for you, but also freshwater tackle and big game tackle for bluefin tuna fishing. They've got it all down there at beautiful Big Fish Bait and Tackle, and their monthly contest for the biggest fish, where they give away a beautiful brand new custom fishing rod every single month at Big Fish Bait and Tackle. You go in there, you buy the ruler that you're going to use to measure your fish with, and then they'll give you all the details. That's all you have to do. You buy the ruler and you're in. Every month, they're giving away a free custom rod. You should take advantage of that here today. All right, my friends, what can I tell you? It's a beautiful Friday morning, and it's so nice to spend time with each and every one of you. You can look out there and see it's a gorgeous day. The sun is just starting to peek through here right now. And of course, we'll be watching this bluefin tuna. We're going to be waiting for the albacore party, which is soon to erupt. And of course, we'll keep our eyes on everything else for each and every one of you. Have a great weekend. And as always, I hope to see you really, really soon.